Aloha, this is Sarah Foley, the Vertical Blonde. I just finished up the Resilient Mind podcast with Eric Balance. I hope you'll tune in. You get to hear my story, how I overcame, and how you can turn all of those seemingly disabling circumstances into your treasures and your biggest X factor. Thank you so much. I hope to hear you tuning in. Aloha.
Welcome everybody to the Resilient Minds podcast. You guys, I'm super pumped today. I have Miss Sarah Foley, also known as the Vertical Blonde. You know, this amazing and profound lady is on a mission to redefine what disability looks like for people living with that physical disability. She's a mother, a motivational speaker, an elevation coach, and believes that the only way to create massive change is to change the way people see themselves and their circumstance. Now, remember, if you don't know Sarah, she's a beautiful woman that, you know, she's been in an ATV accident that left her paralyzed almost 7 years ago. She's been committed since then to heal herself emotionally, physically, and this personal work that she's been opened herself up to has given her the capacity and the ability to create incredible self-love and opportunities, not only just to herself, but to others, and offer healing and elevation that are going through similar situations. Sarah, welcome. So privileged to have you here with us today.
I couldn't be more grateful. Thank you so much, Eric. And thank you for the intro. I feel so much love already. This is going to be a really good show.
Yeah, absolutely. It's my pleasure. You know, Sarah, we've literally just gotten to know each other. You know, we've got introduced through mutual friends, and you know, I've literally read you know, a little bit up above your story about, you know, your experience. But I know that we both have a lot of commonality. We were just coming off of UPW virtual with Tony. You know, we're both amped up, ready to go. You know, changing the world, right? Making a better place. But you know, I always share with everybody in the Resilient Minds community, or you know, my community, that it's important for us to really take advantage of our experiences. And I like to call them our X factors, and use them as a way to contribute to our big why, our why factors. So if you don't mind sharing a little bit about your story and going a little bit deep with what your experience has been like, you know, overcoming so much adversity over the past 7 years, and maybe even before that, you know, of what has been your experience in life and why it's given so much to your amazing way that you're now able to serve at a higher level.
Absolutely. So you know, before the accident, I was one of those people that was actually a little bit plagued with the fact that things really came pretty easy. And I didn't stretch myself too great because I would go for what I could attain to make me look good. I dealt with a lot of perfectionism issues. I was super competitive, but I would just go to that level of like, I'm going to compete right at that level where I know I can win, but I can't necessarily like reach for more. So I was constantly doing that. I was born and raised in Utah. I never fit in there. I never, ever did. I couldn't wait to graduate high school, and I wanted to get out to LA and try and be, my dream was to be an anchor on MTV News. Like that was like the epitome for me. And so I got through high school, and I was like, you know, I really need to have a job to pay the bills. So I got into massage therapy school, figured I can pay the bills everywhere. You know, it was all about security. My stepdad really put that in me of like, make sure you can pay your bills. But then I've got my biological dad who's like the epitome of the dreamer. So I had this like balance within me. I had a really, really good, strong work ethic from my stepdad. I had a great deal of like dream and vision, and like never really fully grew up from my real dad. And then I had my mother who was like, I feel like she was the X factor. Like she was like the epitome for me. She was someone I really looked up to. She could like command a room when she walked in. Like everyone just loved her and gravitated towards her. And I feel like I was always kind of a student of that growing up. And so I learned to use that myself. Like, how can I really command this conversation, or how can I work with what I've got and really get what I want, right? Like I started to really start to use that. And even as I'm saying that, that's kind of a breakthrough. Like, oh, I was actually really doing that. I knew what I was
I
doing.
love
So
it.
I ended up getting recruited from massage school to a hotel spa in Palm Springs. So I was getting out to LA, making my way. I was going out to LA on the weekends doing auditions, and I ended up actually landing a hosting gig for a new show in Palm Springs, and that's where I really got my tongue would salivate when I thought of a camera on me kind of feeling. So it was kind of like Entertainment Tonight for the Palm Springs area. I literally got paid to go to every big event. I went to like fashion shows and art gallery openings and all kinds of stuff. I got to wear fun dresses. I mean, it was just like, this is the dream. This feels
I love
incredible.
it.
I
Nice.
love it. It's so much fun. And still, I think of Palm Springs and I'm like, God, those were like really, really fun years. I just had a blast. I had a great work ethic. And as kind of fate would have it, I didn't have the best producer. And she ended up not paying me for some work. And it really put this bad taste in my mouth. And I got this limiting belief that like everyone is cutthroat and I'm too kind for that industry. Like I didn't want to climb over other people to get ahead. I wanted to use what I had. I wanted to use my talent, but I didn't want to do it at the like detriment of someone else, like climbing over. And it was just like, I felt like the claws start to come out, and I was like, I don't like that. And it actually circled me back to the spa world. So I ended up getting a job again, like as fate would have it, back in Utah. Of all places, it took me back to Utah to Park City, where I ended up getting a management job at a spa there. And all this kind of ties together, and now I see how all of those jobs were really setting me up for what I'm doing now. I got a really big love for what happens when a woman feels beautiful. There's something in her that comes alive when she feels her body's cared for, when she feels like her skin is glowing, when she comes out of a treatment room and she's got a facial and a massage, and she's in her robe and she's got like massage hair and like oils all in her hair, and she's just like, I feel fabulous, right? Like you always look your worst coming out of a treatment, but you feel your best. And I got, again, like a moment of tongue salivating for that. I really wanted to help recreate that for women. I loved what happens when they came alive, when they actually really loved how they felt. There was something magical, and still there's something magical that happens for a woman when she feels that beauty, right? And it's sometimes when we look our worst, when we feel our best. Like you come off a day of like UPW, and I remember my first Unleash the Power Within last year, and I mean, sobbing all day long, right? Like I remember like I had eyelash extensions at that point, and like all my lashes were gone except for like 6, and you're like crazy eyes and no makeup, and you're just like, I would go into the bathrooms and be like, I've never looked worse and I've never felt better. Like this is incredible. So
Sarah, tell me about the experience before, because I think that this is profound, and like you really accentuating and tying this in, because I think that this is important. You people are wanting to feel love, females wanting to feel love. How did that affect you? Because prior, how did that feel prior to the accident and then after the accident? Was there a moment where you felt maybe less beautiful, less, and how, because I'm certain there's people out there that are really using that as a way to hold themselves back in that victim mentality. And I think that you are obviously a testament to, being the victor, right? Going forward.
well, I think it can play both ways, right? I think that as women, they can use it as a mask to look beautiful, but inside they're just like, somebody love me, right? Like they're just yearning for that. And then there's others that there's something in them that you're like, they're walking different, they feel different. And so I feel like I had a mixture of that within my life. Like I knew what it felt like to look in the mirror and do myself up and like what I saw, but there still wasn't, it was like, it was all performance driven based on like how I felt, right? Like I went out to Palm Springs, I got the job. Like that was a self-worth thing. And then I came back to Park City and I got the job. I landed the dream job. I worked my way up. I remember I got the job as a massage or the spa manager. And when the director left 3 months later, my boss was like, you're not ready to run a spa. You're not ready for director status. And I was like, we're in down season. You give me like 3 months. Like you don't have to hire because we were a ski resort. And like, you just give me 3 months. And I went to town on it, man. Like I went to, because we were at a hotel. So I went to every single department head and I said, teach me about your department. Teach me what it means to really direct a department. Teach me all the ways. And I again, I kind of used what I had of like making people feel good, feeding into their strengths, and people just light up when they're like, yeah, I'll show you what I got. Like that, yeah, I can totally show you that. So I started to learn how to really connect with people in a way where it wasn't just me getting what I wanted, it was me working for what I wanted and us starting to work together and really working off of each other's strengths. And like a month and a half later, my boss was like, came in for a regular meeting and she's like, so you want the job? Like,
Yeah.
and that was like, yeah, boom, I got that. But again, it was like this, it was this earning mentality. So I was running the spa for about 3 years at this point, 4 years. And I got a new boyfriend. I was super excited. And we went out for, so at this point, I guess to give a frame of reference, I'm feeling good about myself, right? I'm confident, but I haven't quite stretched. I've never really gone through anything that's like that moment where you learn your grit, you learn what you're made of. Yes, I had the moments of like landing the hosting job, but again, it was Palm Springs. It wasn't LA, right? It was a big fish, little pond kind of thing. You know, I learned how to work what I had, but it wasn't quite stretching. So at this point, got this new boyfriend, and I'm having so much fun, and we were dating for like 6 months at this point. Just kind of when you're like, yeah, I could hang out with this guy a little longer. Like, yeah, we're having some fun, right? And starting to say I love you and really having fun. And it was just like one adventure after another. And I'm just starting to feel really alive. And we go down to Southern Utah for the weekend with another couple with some four-wheelers. And it's just like a easy breezy weekend. And the one morning we get up real early and we go for this glorious hike. And for anyone that's been down in Southern Utah, have you ever been there? Like
No, I haven't. No.
It's gorgeous. And there's these spots where you kind of feel like you're on top of the world. You go up in the mountains and it's like these crazy red rock formations and they're massive. And you just feel like you're on top of the earth, like before Adam and Eve hit. Like you're the only people around. It's barren, you know, it's real rocky and deserty. So there's not much like lushness to it. And so it just feels, there's just so much, just real earthy and grand. And we're up there and we're on top of the world, what it felt like. And we had our 4 dogs between us. I had 2, he had 2, it's just us. And I look at him and I'm like, my life is perfect. There is nothing I would change. I'm in love. I've got my dream job. I make great money. I'm loved by my family and friends. I've never had real big hardship. Just life's perfect. Nothing about it I would change. Literally use those words. And about 4 hours later, so then we finish our hike and take a photo. I've got the dogs, like I think all of them on their leashes. Got a Great Dane and then 3 little ones. And there's this one photo of just me standing there and like sweats, no makeup, just real feeling beautiful, right? That kind of moment. And about 4 hours later, we meet the other couple, and the other guy was a mechanic for ATVs, for 4-wheelers. And so him and his girlfriend and my boyfriend were all super experienced. Like these guys had all grown up on these things, and I've been on them maybe 3 times in my life. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know where the gas is. I don't even know how to turn the thing on. And there's 3 kind of more flimsy, like kind of real sporty ones. And there's one that's like, you could put your equipment on the back and like, it's real beefy. And so we'll give you the beefy one because it's real sturdy. Got the cooler on the back. We got a picnic. Like we're not going on jumps. We're just going to go cruise and look at the leaves change. It's in fall. And just easy, easy, easy. And so we started going along, and I'm starting to feel kind of like the thrill of this machine. I'm like, oh my God, this is amazing. Like you gun it and you're just like, just everything going behind you so fast. And you're starting to feel really alive. And I'm like, okay, I'm kind of getting the hang of this thing. And at one point, this trail we're following a dirt road, or a fire access road. So you could drive a truck down this thing. And it kind of goes up and around this bend, and we can't really quite see where it goes. And the guys go on up ahead, and they say, you girls stay behind. We'll just make sure it's easy on the other side of this mountain. It kind of just looks like it ends on the other side. So they go up, and we see the other boyfriend saying, you're good, you're clear, you're clear, come on up. And we don't realize that my boyfriend, his name's Sean, was coming down the bend to let us know that it was okay. So we start going up, come around the bend, and he's the one on the side that's like hugging the mountain, and I'm on, like, there's a big field on this side. Come around the bend, and I just go into sheer like, holy shit. My first instinct is get off the trail, just get out of the way. And so my instinct is to jerk the wheels, and I hit a ditch, my front wheels hit it, and it catches, and I just start flipping through the air. And it's just this massive machine just going pow, 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 landing on me about 2 or 3 times, and it throws me against a fallen tree. And the last thing I remember is his face of like sheer panic. He throws himself to the side, like to the mountain. So if I would have kept going straight, I'd be in high heels right now walking around my condo, not in a wheelchair. So I'm over here, and it's like slow motion. I feel myself screaming, but there's like nothing coming out. Like you just feel like you're screaming at the top of your lungs. And all I can hear, and I close my eyes, I can still hear it, is like the crunching of bone, just like snap, snap. It is just excruciating, the sound that still kind of echoes in the head. So it stops, and I'm like, okay. My mind went really clear, and I immediately, it's so funny what goes through your head in these moments. I immediately think of my 2nd grade teacher. I can see her, she's got blonde hair, and she's telling us this story of a motorcycle accident of a guy, and after the accident, they moved him incorrectly, and that's what killed him. So in my head, I'm like, if I don't move, I'm gonna be okay. Like, I'm gonna be fine. So I'm screaming at him, and he's like running as fast as he can. I can see how far I've gone. And I just say, don't move me, call Lifeline, how's my face? And he gets up to me, and he still kind of makes fun of me at this point of number 3 on priority list. But in my mind, I'm mangled. Like that's all I can think of. I've got a helmet on, but I'm like, there's no way I am not covered in blood at this point. So he gets over and he's like, babe, like your face is beautiful, but I have no idea about the rest of your body. And luckily I was wearing the helmet, and I just said, leave the helmet on. Like, I don't even want to move a muscle. You call Lifeline, get them here. I'm not going to move. And there's a moment where I'm like kind of calming him down because he saw the whole thing. Yeah, like, yeah. I'm in it, but it's another thing to feel the guilt and the wreckage of what just happened. Yeah. So that, I'll kind of speed up.
So what's going through your mind? You mentioned that you're like, okay, just wait. But your first thing is, it's fascinating. Your first thing is
clarity.
Is my face okay? Is my face okay?
Yeah.
Fascinating. So can you expand on why?
Well, like I said, I just had it in my head that I was just mangled. Okay. And that had gotten me through my whole life, and I think that is what I'd come to rely on, was my impression with people. And, I think that that's your biggest fear, that something's going to happen with that. Like what you consider something that's a strength for you that you use to your advantage, that could be taken away. And, your mind just goes to these places. I was in so much shock that I didn't feel much physical pain. And I had to wait an hour and a half until Life Flight got there. I landed on my side. I snapped my clavicle on the left side. I broke almost every rib. And then I broke, and actually the cooler, I think, is kind of what saved me from having more wreckage, is that when it landed, it hit the cooler every time. So it kind of created this space for my body, but it snapped my back at T4. So kind of right around like where my bra strap goes around the chest and the rib cage is where I don't have any feeling or movement below that level. And I call that the ring of fire. It's a doctor put it a really great way. He said, it's kind of like you've got, your VCR and your TV. Back in the day where you had like your red, yellow, and white. But imagine there's like a gazillion colors or a gazillion holes and nothing's color coordinated. And everything's just trying to plug, trying to get a circuit. And so it's just fire, just pure fire. So you deal with a lot of nerve pain below the whole level. There's still this real bad pain in my back, which through a lot of movement, through changing my location, I've been able to work on, but it's still pretty excessive. So you deal with those things every day. So
so how's this now contributed? Because I think that this is really important. Spending, like, when you were going through rehab or evolving your rehabilitation, what's going through your brain, what's going through your experience there, and thinking, because there's a huge element of resilience here that has been created.
There is, and a lot of my resilience has been happened on accident. So I'd like to recreate these so that people can do these on purpose. And that's kind of what I've taken time afterwards to actually try and put a method to the madness that was happening. So I get into the hospital. First of all, as soon as they get me in the helicopter, like there's the morphine and I'm gone. Like I don't wake up until after surgery. They take me to Las Vegas, which is further away from home. They put me in 10 hours of surgery. I got a metal plate in my clavicle and metal rods and pins and all kinds of things. But here's the thing. As soon as I woke up, I am thousands of miles, hundreds, I don't know, from Vegas to Utah. I wake up and in the waiting room, there is my mom, my dad, my brother, my grandpa, my aunt, my uncle, 3 girlfriends from 3 different states, Sean, all of which are waiting in the waiting room for me to wake up. So I awake to love and support to a whole other degree. And every one of them said the same thing. They went on autopilot. They said that they just knew that I was going to need them when I woke up. So, and I'm in the trauma unit at this point. And so only like 1 to 2 people can come in at a time. So they're just like, when's my turn? When's my turn? And I wake up, ironically, the moment I wake up, no one's in the room, not even a nurse. I'm intubated. I don't think I can breathe. Finally, the nurse comes in and she says, just breathe. Just breathe. Breathe normal. So the one person that made the biggest impact right away was my Aunt Stacy. And she comes in, she leans in for the hug. And at this point, the doctors have said the back's broken, but I don't get those fateful words that a lot of paraplegics get, which is, you're never gonna walk again. It's, we're gonna see what happens. So it's always been this like open-ended question. But she comes in and she just leans down for this hug and I just whisper in her ear, I just said, why? And she like backs up and she's just like, don't you ever ask why. She said, you're not gonna get that answer until you're supposed to. And looking for it, it's gonna eat you alive. So I just was like, okay, door closed, what's next? Like, we're not gonna spend a whole lot of time thinking about why this has happened, we're gonna get to work. And everyone kind of served a different purpose. My girlfriends came in and their job, whether they even knew it at the time or not, but they again went to autopilot and said, what is Sarah gonna want? She's gonna want to feel and look herself. So through rehab, they would wash my hair. They would come in and bleach my roots. They would, I've got this one photo, it's my favorite photo in all of rehab. And I'm laying there, at this point, I can't even sit up yet. And I've got a girlfriend on either leg. They're shaving my legs, painting my nails, brushing the hair. And like they're sitting there and they've got posters everywhere of like, you got this, like big pink lip posters. I mean, it's just like color and beauty. And, you know, it's just like, I feel myself here. Yeah. And Sean goes to work and Sean's amazing. We called him Tigger. And he would just like bounce in. It was like he was bouncing on the tail. It's like, hey, like, we're just going to keep you happy today. Like, that's our whole goal. We're going to keep you happy. And I've got a smoothie for you. And it was just like, boom, 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 you know, and
so much support.
Oh, it's just like everyone goes into beast mode in their own right, you know? Yeah. And that's it. It's that support network of people that know you the best of what are you going to need when you go through this. And if they don't know, you got to know that for yourself so you can ask. Like that was all on accident for me. We didn't realize what was going on. But looking back, I'm like, they gave me exactly what I needed. I felt joyful. It was like a big party. But Sean's a master salesman and he had convinced the hospital to give me the room that they basically reserved for the president. So the entire hospital staff's like, who's this girl like in the room? Like they're thinking I'm some celebrity. We called it the Sarah-dential suite. Like I talk about this moment that is literally, did you do the 7-day challenge with Tony Robbins? Just this.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So the comeback challenge. So do you remember the day he said people's biggest fear and biggest dreams? Yep. People's biggest fear is to be a quadriplegic. I'm literally 5 inches away from people's biggest fear. And yet, those days in the hospital were literally some of my favorite days of my life. We had so much fun. It was like we got to take a time out from normal life to support and love and connect and just people just sit in the room with me and just watch funny movies or paint nails or, you know, like shop for Victoria's Secret workout clothes so I could look cute while I'm doing workout, you know. And people at the hospital just didn't know what to do with us. Like even at rehab, so I was at hospital first in Vegas and I got transferred to rehab in Craig Hospital in Denver. And on my way there, I actually contracted spinal meningitis. So that's when I really almost died. I land and I'm like, can't feel my head. It's just throbbing. It's like medicine woman, silver hair comes down. She just like give this girl a spinal tap. Like she's really sick. So I don't remember those next 10 days. And again, people just, they went into autopilot. What does she need? You know, what is she going to eat? What think about her loves. What do you love that's going to bring you back to yourself? I love girl time. I love the element of just laughter and joy and what is going to bring you back to yourself. And I'm so lucky that I had this support network of people that knew me better than I knew myself. They knew what I needed. And of course my mother, who's like freaking angel. I don't know that she slept for 5 months. You know, while all this is happening, she's got a team remodeling her house at home so that I can come home and be comfortable. And so everyone just went to work. And so we had a blast. And
I think that,
go ahead.
I think that the community, and it's fascinating here, it says it shows that you allowed not your conditions affect you, but the decision to really be around. First of all, you had the community around yourself, but second of all, then you had the decision, the choice to be happy. And you made that consciously, no matter what was happening. That's why what I'm noticing, what I'm sensing is that you had so much gratitude for that experience. It sounds like grace is coming through you right now as you speak about it.
Yeah, it was the most special moment of my life. I absolutely loved it. And I loved it so much that when I went home, that's when reality hit. Because then everybody had to go back to life. And I then had a new life, that nothing was the same. I didn't go to the bathroom the same way. I didn't shower the same way. I didn't get around the same way. Everyone had to go back to life that they'd been putting on hold for 3 months to take care of me. And all I could think of was, I just want to get back to normal. I just wanted normalcy so much. And it's so funny because I feel like that's what people are going through right now with, with COVID. It's a great, it's a different perspective, different details, but it's the same perspective of things are different. Things are totally different. Everything's been flipped upside down. And all you want is normalcy, right? Like, you're like, God, all I could think of was like going for a jog. And I was not even a runner. I was like, I don't even like running. Why do I want to go for running now? And so you just kind of crave like an old familiarity, crave what was, that you could rely on, a sense of certainty. And now there's this nothing but uncertainty in my life. And all I want to do is get back to work. And that.
So describe the process. Describe that process, how you've been able to evolve from that experience to where you are today, because I think that's important. That process of evolution has been, obviously what changed like a lot of your beliefs, right?
Yeah, for sure. So I first wanted to get back to work. Like, that was the big goal. Like, I just want to get back to work, because at this point, like, the highlight of my day is Price is Right, and that's getting really old. And I'm like, that's all I look forward to all day, right? I'm like, 11 o'clock, is it here yet? Oh my God. Because I just don't even want to get out of bed at this point. And that was the only thing that got me out of bed, because there was not a TV in my room. So I had to like get myself to the couch. But before I could get to the couch, I had to go to the bathroom. And it was just like, I called it like my Death Star. To get in my Death Star was my wheelchair. I fell out of it so many times. And I'm going to call like neighbors to like pick you up off the floor when you're butt naked and so embarrassed and so humiliated that you can't walk yourself to the bathroom, is a whole sense of humility, thank you, that can never be described unless you go through it, right? Like, when you go through something that is humiliating, you're just like, that pain is so significant that you're like, I don't want this ever again. And it became a driver. So I wanted to get back to work. I thought that was the big thing. Like, if I just get back to work, I can do this. Like, if I just get back to my spa, they're waiting for me, they're rooting for me. And which even I was just thinking about this, even my skincare reps from the spa would send me skincare lotions to give to all my nurses at the hospital. Like, I got support from all areas. It was pretty outrageous. But so I got back to work, and they'd even like remodeled my office so I could get to my desk. And here's what would happen is that I got back to work, and I would get through my whole day, and I'm like, I got this. I am the boss. I am needed. I can do this. And it was like about 3 o'clock would start, and I was like, oh God, there it is. And it would just like, just get to my car, just get to my car, just get to my car. And I'd get in the car and I would just sob. And I had a 45-minute commute, and I was putting on this really brave face. And what happens with people that, especially those with disabilities, you're just getting through life. Like, I'm just putting my clothes on by myself. I'm just going to work. These are normal things of society should be expecting of you. And you're told constantly you're such an inspiration. So you pack away every bit of sadness, depression, suicidal thought, you pack it away, because now you've got this pressure that people are relying on me to be that happy, inspirational self. And that pressure puts so much on people with physical disabilities, I can't even tell you. And there's a point where someone does something with their life that's super inspirational. But if you're telling someone that they're an inspiration just for putting their shoes on today, like that was their big hurdle to get through, just putting my shoes on by myself, or just getting through the day without my bladder exploding and me peeing my pants today because my nerves are all off. don't tell me I'm an inspiration. And so you pack that away because you're trying to be so inspirational and you're just dying inside. So I dealt with so much of this conflict of I'm joyful, I'm depressed, I'm joyful, don't let anyone in. And it was just like behind closed doors. No one knew how sad I was. Not Shauna, my mom, no one knew how sad I was.
How did that affect your relationships, your work, your your conversations, your internal self? And when did you finally identify it? Because I think that there's a level of awareness that you had, and then but you didn't have first, and then you found it.
Yeah. The denial was rampant, right? Like the denial was massive at this point. And I think a lot of people go through this denial of like, no, I got this. And they really don't got it. And that's okay. I didn't realize that it was okay to not have it. So it wasn't actually until working was actually I was dealing with a lot of infections, and actually working I wasn't able to heal as much as I needed to. I was having a hard time getting to work. And then it was just so had it that Sean ended up getting a job transfer opportunity to Maui. And he said, well, let's go to Maui. Like, this is huge. And I was like, I can't leave my job. Like, and now I realize it was the last bit of normalcy of that old life. And I just couldn't let it go. And he basically had to like drag me to Maui when people are like, oh my God, go, leave everything, pack, don't even pack, just go. You just need a swimsuit. And I was just like, I can't let it go. I can't let it go. And I had just, again, this inner turmoil. So it wasn't until everything had to be fresh. So he finally convinced me. We'd been visiting Oahu a couple times a year for my body to decompress. Anyone that's listening, if you have a spinal cord injury, get to tropical climate. The first thing you do, just go. The cold, the altitude, everything was just horrible on any kind of metal or spinal cord injury. So I immediately started feeling a sense of healing. And I was starting to feel really good once I got to Maui. And I said, you know what? I've got this opportunity to heal. I've got this opportunity where at this point, I'm not working. I don't have to. I get to heal. I get to go through this process and be in Maui and sort of allow the land to heal me. And so if I wouldn't have like allowed myself, I wish I would have allowed myself to go a little bit sooner. Like, I wish I would have just not gone back to the job initially and just been like, you know what, I get to take this time. But I think we sometimes have to have things taken from us over and over until we accept that it's time to take it as an opportunity. So
today, where are you at today with, now that you're in Maui, now that you're being there, so where are you at today with what you specifically do, and how has this contributed to that?
So once I started, I thought I was going to be physically healing. That was the big thing, and that's how Vertical Blonde started. And I really long-winded, so keep me on track here. So I started a blog so that I could keep family and friends abreast of what I was doing. And I really wanted something creative. I was like, I want like this name. Like, I just wanted to be like, yeah, like this is me. Like, it kind of make this like persona. And I knew that words really had power. So I was like, okay, like I played with all these different names, like Vertical Ambition and Walkin' Sarah and all kinds of different things. And I loved the word vertical. I just thought something about it seemed really sexy, standing up, like just there was something about it, and blonde was just obvious. So came up with Vertical Blonde. And what I didn't realize was happening was that I set in motion my new focus. And everything started tying back on how to be vertical. The things I was doing, getting physical again. Working out, getting healthy, nutrition started to be a factor. And then I started going into therapy to what I thought was kind of work through the wreckage. And we started picking apart like what was really hurting me the most. And the biggest thing was that I didn't think you could be sexy and be in a wheelchair at the same time. Like all these stereotypes were like contradicting. I was like, well, I can't be successful now. I can't be pretty. I can't be healthy because I'd never seen any of these things. I'd seen unhealthy. I'd seen like 30 Walmart bags on the back. I'd seen people like losing a sense of their identity, losing a sense of confidence. And I was just like, this just doesn't make any sense. And so we started working through kind of like piece by piece. But the biggest thing that happened was the acceptance. I hadn't accepted what had happened. And I think that before we can move on, it's like we're going to be tied to this like ball and chain on the ground if we're trying to move on, yet we haven't accepted the fact that we have to unlock the chain around our ankle. Yep. You know, like until we accept what has happened. And so there were pieces of acceptance, there was pieces of forgiveness, there was pieces of shifting the perspective of like, what else could this mean in my life? And I love the what if game, like, what if this meant? And I just decided to start playing around like different ideas of what this could mean and see what feels best in my body. And then you get to play off of that.
So what it sounds like is like you literally took the perspective and you changed your story of what you decided to make it mean.
Yeah.
So how can you, for anybody that's listening right now, what would you suggest to them on a process or a way or a mechanism, perhaps that, or how you work with some of your clients through healing, of what they can do to really, you know, create that space to change that story?
A big thing is changing the or to an and. I can be beautiful, sexy, successful, strong, independent, and be in a wheelchair. It doesn't have to be this either or. Shifting the one word can mean everything. Everything. It's not an or factor, it's an and factor. So there's this.
And how, sorry, go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt, my apologies.
Constant thing. So I now work with women in wheelchairs, and we work on fitness, we work on our mindset, we work on healing, our sexuality, we work on all these beautiful things. And I held a retreat last year, and one of the girls put it so well. It was like, I've been trying to put this thing into words that all of us thought at the same time. And she said, if I'm happy in this wheelchair, it means that the disability is won. And it's like we have this in our head that because this thing happened that we didn't like, and we're still trying to be who we used to be, that if we accept it, it's won in some way. We accept this thing that we didn't want, we don't like, we don't like that it's happened, we don't like the fact I can't walk, but I changed the or to an and, that I can accept it and I can be happy and I can have this disability. And so when we start to shift it in that way, we start to play around with these words and just these possibilities of what it could be for us. Because it's like we've got this in our head that it's so black and white. So the process begins always with this state of awareness of what exactly it is. And if you can put it into words so eloquently as she did, then all the better. And then we set goals that the girls always think that they have to do with physical, right? They always think it's like, I don't want this wheelchair. It's called the wheelchair tummy, that due to our posture and lack of abdominal muscles, that we kind of get this like pooch, and it's called the wheelchair tummy or the parapooch. And so it's very common. And through fitness and nutrition and mindset, I was able to lose my parapouch, my wheelchair tummy. And now girls are like, how'd you do it? Like, let's talk. And so
I love it.
Yeah, I kind of take like this side door approach, and I'm like, well, what you don't realize by my before and after photo is everything that was happening up here and in here. And I had to accept the fact that my body was different. I had to come to terms with the fact that something had happened in my life that I didn't love. And that if I came to a place of acceptance of it and thought, now what is this offering me? And how can I nourish my life and my body and my mind and my soul in the process, that this can actually become our X factor, our superpower. And, you know, my whole life, I wanted something to say on a screen. Whole life. I wanted to go be on MTV News, right? Like that was the goal. And, but when you're reading someone else's script, it's not as powerful as what happens when you're coming from your own pain. And when you get to talk to people through a place of pain, and it was me finding my joy again and who I became and finding my joy and replacing my or with an and, that all my dreams actually started to come true. And I was like, I think this is actually helping me in my goals.
And now you're living in your passion.
And now I'm living in the passion.
And the coolest thing is I think that what I'm noticing is that, you know, these have become massive gifts to you, and you're so excited about it. I can see it, like you even discovering and sharing it. And I think that these values, they're consistent in your being as you've continued to grow. So how do those values show up in the way that you serve now your community, or, you know, the people that need you?
Well, again, I think it's getting back to myself. And I was kind of making notes for getting ready for this. And I thought it was me finding the moments when I forgot how mad I was in the first place. You know those moments where you're so swept off and you're like, oh my God, like nothing in this world matters right now. And it's those moments, and it's finding the moments, like going through this trial and error process and going on the journey of actually finding the moments where nothing else in the world matters except for that joy that you're feeling in that moment. And it was me getting to discover all of that. And I think, actually, I know in my heart that every single one of our problems is a treasure. It's such a gift for us. And I think back to my life before when it was perfect, right? Like it was perfect to that standard. There's no growth. Not once did I stretch myself beyond what I didn't think or know that I could already do. When you stretch yourself, and sometimes, actually always, I'm sorry to break to people that have not had this yet, but in life, things are gonna get ripped out from us. Things are gonna get toppled all around. And when you're flipping through the air, all you can think about is, how's my face? Don't move me, call for help, right? Like that's such a beautiful metaphor. But if we can actually just stop and think, this pain is telling me something, and this pain is going to be a gateway for a life that there's no way I could have designed this life. Even my friends, they're like, out of everyone to get hurt,
Wow.
like you're the last one we would ever expect. And
Wow.
you're the only one that could have done something with it. And I think that goes for our problems too. And we don't see it when we're in it, that we're the only one that could do something with it in the way that only we can. Absolutely. And if we start to think of these things being given to us on purpose, for us to find our purpose, it's when you go to journey inside and use this as sort of like a pathway, right? Like this, our lives, it's that old life, that normal is gone.
Yeah, we stopped looking at things as disabilities or you know, negative experiences, and start really accentuating the grace and the gratitude and the opportunities from them. And I think that what you shared here is not just for, you know, anybody that's going through, you know, a physical or emotional disability, but for any kind of way of really looking on themselves and wanting to create something better, especially during these times, right? Like there's so much uncertainty that people are creating in their own brains, but if you make the decision in your own head to make something better happen, it doesn't matter what's outside of us, we can create it within us.
Can I share my prayer I say every day?
Please, I would be more than grateful to hear it.
I love this prayer. I say every day, and actually say it multiple times during the day. I've really trained myself to make it almost instinctual when something bad or seemingly bad hits. And I just say simply, dear God, thank you so much for the seemingly good and the seemingly bad, for in this moment, I do not know the difference. And when people come to me, they'll always be like, oh my gosh, if you can do it, I can do it. You know, like I'm going through this really hard time, or I've got an eating disorder, or I'm just going through a breakup, or like they'll see their problem in the spokes of my wheelchair, right? They see me overcoming a problem and they see their problem in the wheelchair. And I always say to them, like, there's a million things that have the potential to disable us. And I tell you, it is way more in my mind that disables me on a regular basis than the fact that I cannot use my legs.
Yeah, wow.
It is all up here.
Sarah, you've given such a beautiful and profound path to success. Your path to success is our path to success. So many people can use this path to generating success in their own life. What would you be saying? What would you say is one reason why people fail?
Why they fail? Well, I don't think there's failure, right? I think it's this fear to try that I think fails our expectations. And I think that we do get really attached to our expectations. It was me of what I thought my life was going to look like that pissed me off more than anything else. And so if I could release that, and I'll never forget it. There was this one guy, he's fun in the Tony Robbins community, and he does some speaking events, like to train speakers. And he says, I should actually like sue you. I said, why? What was happening? He's like, you've got an unfair advantage over me as a speaker. And I thought, like this just became my superpower. How can I use this? Right? Like that thing that we're like, is this going to get me noticed, or is this going to, is this going to make me struggle or whatever? Like, I think it opens us up in ways we just don't really anticipate. And I love that he gave me that perspective. And I think once we shift the way, so it goes back to it, once we shift the way that we view ourselves, everything changes. And so I work with women now, and I work with them for fitness and mindset, majority with physical disabilities, but now women without physical disabilities are asking me for some mindset. So we're working on that, coming really soon. And, working with these girls, it's constantly, working on their bodies and this acceptance piece. And once they start showing up for themselves, it doesn't take very long for them to blossom. And I tell them, I call it disability icon. And I call it this for a reason. I say, girls, like we are the new icons. Like now when that search goes in for disability icon, right, in the Google, it's going to be showing us the ones that are showing up, and we're completely stripping the old stereotype, like out with the little blue logo and in with us that are like kicking ass and taking names. And we are showing up in a way that we're going to use it to our advantage of this has been a gift, and we're going to go out there, and it's no longer, oh, the girl in the wheelchair. It's, oh, that speaker, that girl that's out there, and she's now a teacher, she's a mom, she's a lawyer, she's doing all these beautiful things. And it's readjusting this perspective of how we even look at disability in the first place, and really pushing to a place of inclusion. And it's beautiful when watching these girls just come alive from, one girl that's never been on her date in her whole life, and she's dating, and she's 24. And, these people taking these beautiful first steps that they never thought were possible.
Yeah. Sarah, if anybody on here wants to really connect with you, I think it's important that you share. Is there any way that people can reach out to you? What's the best way to reach out to you, to connect with you, and to really, if they want to work with you, to get more information?
Absolutely. Everything is under the tag Vertical Blonde. So Instagram, Facebook, verticalblonde.com, everything's there, including fitness and just how to get a hold of me. I love hearing from you. I love, hearing from stories, even from parents of, their kids going through, a disability and things like that. So it's been really beautiful to help and be of service and open up doors that were never really open in the first place. And really exciting, just this week, I'm so excited, I've been waiting for this. I'm featured in a beautiful new book called Your Second Act. The author is Patricia Heaton. A lot of people know her from Malcolm in the Middle, and Everybody Loves Raymond. She has a beautiful new book out that is a collection not only of her story, but of other people's stories of overcoming and them stepping into their second act, whether they've searched it and sought it, or something's happened like with me with a disability. So That drops the 21st. I don't even know what day it is.
Where where can anybody get that information? Is there a link to get it?
Yeah, so it's on my website, but it's already available for pre-order all over Amazon. Just Your Second Act,
Okay.
and I think you're really gonna love it. It's beautiful, and even just the story of meeting the woman that helped her write the book at UPW last year and how that transpired. I also did a beautiful podcast on the Tony Robbins podcast show on the element of forgiveness,
Beautiful.
forgiving the accident, forgiving Sean, forgiving the circumstances, and how that really offered clarity into the next steps of my life. So I
So
hope
we'll
that.
make sure to link, the podcast. We'll make sure to link, the book, all of the assets in the links. So if anybody's, driving or anything, there'll be links in the show notes. So with that, I just have one last question. If you had 3 days left to live, Sarah, what would you do?
Oh my gosh, Disneyland! I love Disneyland so much. Why does that's the first thing that comes to mind?
I love it.
I would seriously take my little boy to Disneyland, and I would eat all the cotton candy there is. And I'd probably just bring every single woman with a disability and be like, "Come on out, we're going to Disneyland. Put your damn ears on, like it's time to party." If that's just the first thing that comes to mind, I love Disneyland. So and I really want to leave a message. Just really encouraging people to say that prayer on a regular basis. You don't know what this hardship you may be going through is offering you and opening you up to. Forgive. I would go through and I would literally forgive. I tell everyone I love them. I would thank them, even the ones that were getting under my skin. I would thank them for what they offered me. I would practice that whole Ho'oponopono and make sure that was the last thing that I did. So forgiveness is key. Forgiveness for yourself, for your circumstances, for the people in your life. Like, it's those chains that hold us back of what we thought things were supposed to do for us. So, yeah, be forgiving and loving, and get my ass to Disneyland.
I love it. Sarah, thank you so much for coming on the show. Super grateful to have you. I'm super pumped to stay connected, and your story is a blessing, and you're just continuing to change the world. So bless you, and thank you for everything.
My pleasure. Thanks, Eric.
Ciao.
Aloha, everyone.
Aloha.